Advanced Communicator Silver, Advanced Leader Bronze, can come.
Thank you, Brian or I can call you Ababa Smart. Just a short. Well, the evaluators preparing their notes. I'm a guy, a lot of nicknames, cannot, but some of you. Other than that, from primary school until today, like age 20 plus already, I have I think 4 or 5 nicknames. Well, names is very fun because we get to, like Ethan, you know, people call it Mission Impossible, like Ethan Hunt from Tom Cruise. We call, you have it Ethan, Jabba in Hokkien. So names make it very interesting. So that's the beauty of Toastmasters. You're trying to make things more lively. Because a lot of things that I see, a lot of training session, we don't come up here like a very formal thing, right? Just sit down there and listen to a formal speech. We're trying to create a lot of interaction. So before I start the table topics evaluations, a lot of times I realized today we have a few experienced people taking up the evaluation roles. But I try to encourage new people to take up evaluation roles. By taking new roles, take on yourself to take up new roles that you feel yourself you can learn more new things. With that, Ethan Hunt, are you ready for this mission?
Yeah.
Your mission is to choose to accept it in the table topics evaluation. So, please welcome Ethan Gates.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 4 table topic speakers who have for some reason been arranged in alphabetical order today, I would like to provide you with your evaluation notes, my notes. Right, so Ali, our first speaker, the boxer who is taking my pictures, your topic was how do you reward yourself? Now some of the strengths that you may or may not realize that you used during your speech is you began with a visual example. So for example, he led on to say that he wants to go to sleep. Sleep is his getaway, right? But how he told us this was he said, from the look of my face, how I look right now, I need to go to sleep. And that is exactly what I do to reward myself. He gave us a visual demonstration to show us his next point. So that was a very good transition. I really like that. It's a good idea. The next thing that he did was he ended with a one-liner, which is something that many of us can choose to do. So for example, what he did was he said, I really miss my bed. For now, I really miss my bed. And he ended his speech. Something that Boyi could also do in his speech where he said the base is the most important part and without it the house will crumble. That is an example of using a one-liner to end your speech. And it's a very good technique to use. One area of improvement is, I note that you are sleepy. In the event that you are not at your best and a joke does fail, don't acknowledge the failure of the joke. Step past the joke, keep a straight face as if the joke never happened. That way, you can make another joke later and the audience won't compare them. So step past that joke and move past it.
What if my life is a joke?
Step past it, move.
Then you can keep avoiding it. Anyway, for our next speaker, Ababa Chuan, your comfort zone versus challenges. Now, your great strength is that you took this table topic, which I noticed you've been doing a lot lately, is you go against the common view. The common view is to say that challenges are what you enjoy, challenges make life work, but what he does is he goes against the obvious. He says that what he really likes is his comfort zone. This catches all of us and quite literally forces us to pay attention. And he ends it with a resolution. Why is it his comfort zone is his challenge? And how this can be a surprise to all of us. So he ends it with his resolution. What is his reasoning? And another strength that he has is, once again, uncomfortable with the comfort zone. So you have a very nice sense of irony. However, the challenge is, ironically, is the use of word irony. Now, whenever as a speaker you use the word irony, you need to be aware of your audience. Now, in the Malaysian context, very few people actually understand how the term or the concept of irony works. So when you go around saying irony, people very easily confuse it with coincidence. And I'm so bad at explaining the two, so I'm just going to tell you they're very different. So most of the time, it can be very tricky to get the audience to understand the concept of irony. Another one, which I notice you have a tendency to do, is you have very nice, very descriptive gestures. If you note, he almost draws out each movement. Therein is also your weakness. Because you draw out a lot of movements, your tendency is to create very swishy gestures. You have a tendency to move like this, like that, like this, like this. while they have purpose, sometimes I would encourage that to emphasize your point, you stop a gesture when you make a statement. So for example, the comfort zone is my challenge. Just leave the hand. Since you use a lot of descriptive gestures, that one moment that you stop would be extra powerful. Now, bends, rumor has it. Very interesting to evaluate because there are some very nice shows of an experienced speaker. Now you can tell this because his introduction itself has a very good use of pause. How many of you believe the rumors you hear? How many of you believe in rumors? That pause in the beginning sentence is a sign of someone who has spoken very often. And it's a very good use of pause, something we can all learn from. The next thing is it says, let me share with you a secret. Now when you use words like secret, our first instinct as the audience, this next thing he's going to say has value. Whether or not we would like to, we say, cannot have value, cannot have value. The truth is, all our lives we've learned that words like secret have a hidden meaning. They have something important. Whether we like it or not, we will listen either because it's interesting or because we believe it's not valuable. But we end up listening anyway. Next, you do a visual demonstration. Quite literally, it goes up and shows us what a rumor is like. A very good way to enhance the value and atmosphere because you're bringing your speech to life. You're showing us a rumor can actively happen. In terms of areas of improvement, I noticed that you have a tendency to accept the audience's interjections. Now, while this can be, in a good side, it's called engagement, but when you're in a lot of clubs, sometimes you can get interjections that do not add value to your speech. So when you start to acknowledge them, then the challenge becomes, how do you incorporate all of them into your speech? So I did not, for a second there, I expected you not to acknowledge the two girlfriends one, but then you did, which you managed to cover up quite well by saying that's definitely not true. Then there came in a second interjection and it caught you off guard. So what I would suggest is, same to the joke part, is to completely bypass the interjection, because then they know that the speaker is making their point, my interjection is not useful. Finally, it's to think of the message before you begin your table topic. Because I noticed that your topic was very interesting, very humor-based at the start, and then suddenly it had a very strong message. So I was like, I see what you're doing there, there's a lot of humor, suddenly deep. So it's like, when we try to link it back to where the message was first introduced, we can't find it. So before you begin your speech, there's no harm taking 5 seconds to figure out your message and structuring the speech around it. Now Winnie, things that challenge me. Now one thing that is your natural strength by far is your enthusiasm. You could be speaking about a rock, rolling, and it would still be a very entertaining speech. You have a very strong way of playing with pitch. Whenever you're genuinely curious, it says, I think it's like this, her voice goes up. So we know that we should be curious about what she's curious about. That's one of your natural strengths. If I had any suggestions, it would be this very minor thing that I noticed. Is you have, no, actually not that. You have a tendency to say the words you know. Now, that's a speech crutch, right? So I shouldn't be evaluating it, but when you keep saying the word you know, you also have another tendency to say, to me. So there's a very big confusion here. So I should know, but then your point is only my point. So is the audience supposed to understand it, or is it my opinion? So there's a small contradiction, and the audience may suddenly get confused. That's why I say it's a very minor thing. The fact that I have to look for it says something. And also to never admit that you have no good closing. Just close it. And that's all for me. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the can-do man, Ken. Oh my god, Candy Man. Okay, sorry. So
I have a lot of nicknames. After this, I can share you one by one from my nickname from standard 5 until today. Thank you, Ethan Hans. Malaysian version, Mission Impossible. Next, we move on.